Good evening, everyone. I'm Nilesh and I'm your host for today's webinar. I welcome you all on behalf of entire Pentagraph team to the PentaTalk series of this month. Our PentaTalk series has been a platform that brings together brilliant minds and thought leaders from various fields to share their expertise and insight. It is a testament to our collective commitment to growth and continuous learning. Our topic today is Amritkaal, India's growth story. The term Amritkaal was initially coined by Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji during the 75th Independence Day celebrations in 2020. At that time, he introduced this concept while unveiling a new growth roadmap for India's next 25 years to restructure all fragments of the Indian economy through rapid profitable growth, better living conditions for all, infrastructural and technological advancements, and reawakening the world's trust in India. We have gathered here today to explore the various dimensions of this topic and gain insights from our esteemed speaker, Mr. Nilesh Shah, who is the Group President and Managing Director of Kotak Mahindra Asset Management Company. Before we start this session, I would like to take a moment to introduce our elite speaker of the day. वैसे तो इन्हें इंट्रोडक्शन की कोई जरूरत, इनका तो नाम ही काफी है, फिर भी एक छोटी सी कोशिश नीलेश सर की इंट्रोडक्शन इन्हीं के अंदाज में। नीलेश जी म्यूचुअल फंड इंडस्ट्री के सबसे पुराने और उम्दा खिलाड़ी में से। ये पिछले 3 दशक से लगातार ही शानदार पारी खेल। कोटक के अलावा इनका लीडरशिप रोल रहा है विद एक्सिस बैंक ग्रुप, आईसीआईसीआई बैंक ग्रुप एंड फ्रैंकलिन टेम्पल्टन म्यूचुअल। इनकी कप्तानी में सभी सर एक गोल्ड मेडलिस्ट चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट हैं, साथ ही साथ मेरिट रैंक कॉस्ट अकाउंटेंट भी। इंडियन इकोनॉमी एंड मार्केट्स पे इनकी जबरदस्त पकड़ है और यह दोनों लोकल एंड ग्लोबल पब्लिकेशन के लिए अक्सर लिखते। इन्होंने अपने साथी और कलीग मिस्टर मोदन शाह के साथ मिलकर एक किताब भी लिखी है, अ डायरेक्ट टेक इन्वेस्टमेंट स्टोरीज टू हेल्प मेक अ लाइफ विदाउट इंटरफेस। नीलेश सर बोर्ड ऑफ एसोसिएशन ऑफ म्यूचुअल फंड्स इन इंडिया के मेंबर हैं। ये सेबी एंड एक्सचेंजेस ऑफ मार्केट डेवलपमेंट के विभिन्न कमेटी के साथ भी जुड़े हुए हैं। सर एक पार्ट टाइम मेंबर है यूनिक आइडेंटिफिकेशन अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया। साथ ही साथ सर पार्ट टाइम मेंबर है इकोनॉमिक एडवाइजरी काउंसिल ऑफ प्राइम मिनिस्टर के लिए। सर आपका स्वागत है पेंटाग्राफ के पेंटाटॉक सीरीज में।
Thank you, Nimisha. And
we are so delighted to have you again this year. Last year, it was an honor for us to celebrate our 14th anniversary. So we are so happy to share that we have crossed 1,000 crores of AUM, and we are always so blessed and motivated by your presence and time. So we look forward for many.
Thank you, Nimisha, and wish you all the very best for your silver jubilee. And hope that you add 10 behind this 1,000 crore AUM.
Let's do that. That's a wonderful thought. So before we begin the session, a small announcement for our participants. Sir will give us his insight on the India's growth story, why this concept of Amritkaal was coined and how will it help the investors at large, what is the progress of our country and how do we foresee, like I said, in another 25 years roadmap is what Sir will help us understand today. So we'll take Q&A after the session is over, at the end of the session, and we'll open the floor for 10-15 minutes thereafter. So, sir, over to you.
Thank you, Nimisha. Bill Gates once mentioned that human beings have very low ability to forecast long-term trend, and they overestimate short-term trend. So his advice was focus on long term and don't underestimate it, and be cautious on short term in overestimating it. I think all of us have seen India change in last decade or so, and yet many of us are not able to forecast what will be the Amritkaal's journey of India. This presentation about India's transformation is essentially to give you data and tools which gives confidence that truly India's Amritkal has begun. Now, do remember whatever I say, opposite is also true about India. When you want to show richness of India, there is Antila. And when you want to show poverty of India, there is Dharavi. Both coexist in 10 kilometers distance of each other. Our journey is transition of Dharavi to Antila over a period of time. Will that happen? Our confidence is yes. But can there be opposite view? Answer is undoubtedly yes. Let's look at how the world is looking at us. If we see India's transformation, this is how colonial magazine used to view us. An elephant who is always under trouble. Now the same magazine views us as fast and ferocious tiger. A tiger which will protect even the biggest countries of the world. This is, in one sentence, India's transformation. What has changed in India? We have moved from high inflation to moderate inflation. This has happened through mandate to RBI on inflation targeting, and this has happened via supply chain management by the government. Net result, in 16 out of 30 months, Indian inflation was lower than American inflation. And today, the gap between Indian and American inflation is just about 2%, probably one of the lowest. It does show that inflation, by and large, has been controlled. We are moving from FX shortage to FX surplus. Foreign direct investment, remittances, and services exports have ensured that India's balance of payment looks healthy. Today, we have fourth largest FX reserves in the world. Today, we have more FX reserves than net FX debt. In fact, carefully look at country number 3. Many Indians have kept their money there. Once सुबह का भूला शाम को घर लौटा है, तो Switzerland will be out of top 5 and India will be moving to third largest FX reserves holder in the world. We are moving from infrastructure deficit to infrastructure availability. We have spent more money on building infrastructure and bearing some exception. We are executing those infrastructure projects at a faster pace. Mathematically, 67 equal to 10 is not correct. But all of us are witnessing this equation in our lifetime. Coal production is moving from 600 million tons to a billion tons. Power capacity is moving from 223 gigawatt to 435 gigawatt. Power generation is moving from a billion unit to 1.6 billion unit. Rail electrification from 21,000 to 59,000 kilometers. Highways from 82,000 kilometers to 165,000 kilometers. Airports from 70 to 140. Metro from 250 kilometers to 850 kilometers. And ports cargo from 1,400 million metric tons to 2,800 million metric tons. India truly is creating infrastructure availability. From imports, we are now shifting to make in India. Of course, we have a long way to go. But there was a time when high-speed locomotives were imported because we were not producing them. Today, entire high-speed train is produced in Make in India. Vande Bharat train is true example of how quality trains can be made at a competitive price. And inside these trains are today as good as you can find in any parts of the world. Obviously, it is up to us to preserve them. And in this, we are falling behind many of our peers. In the banking system, from hidden NPAs, we have reached to fully provided NPAs. Now, there is no Nirav Modi, Mehul Choksi, Vijay Mallya equivalent borrowers in the system. 15 years back, we had to tell all these banks to not lend any money because they were saddled with NPAs. Today, we have reached a level where when Silicon Valley Bank was going bankrupt in US and it was getting circulated on WhatsApp, a small cooperative bank in Mumbai, Shamrao Vittal Cooperative Bank, had to tell its depositors, SVB means that American bank, not us. This is the position of India's banking system, where 16th largest American bank going broke pushed it to tell that that's American bank in trouble, not us. We are moving from physical to digital infrastructure. Our digital infrastructure is publicly owned and it allows usage at a very, very competitive rate. Aadhaar, UPI, ONDC, CoWIN, all are making material impact onto the ease of doing business in India. In US, to transfer money from one bank account to another bank account for same-day credit requires $30 charge. We do that for free for instant credit. We don't have to wait or pay like Americans. The vaccine certificate in US is still available on a piece of paper. In India, it is fully digitized. We are moving from layers to direct. There was a time when a Prime Minister of India mentioned in the city of Mumbai at Azad Maidan, when we send 100 rupees from Delhi, only 15 rupees reaches to the intended recipient and 85 rupees is leaked out. Today, thanks to Jandhan, Aadhaar and mobile, money reaches directly to the intended recipient. No leakages, no corruption, straight delivery to the beneficiary. Next slide, please. We are moving in government procurement from gatekeeping to marketplace. There was a time when Director General of Supplies and Disposals will cover every possible entry into government buying space. You had to obtain registration, and obviously that was not an easy task. Today, government procures lakhs of crores worth of goods in an open market space called GEM or Government E-Marketplace. There is no gatekeeping anymore. If you have good product, are willing to sell at reasonable price, through GEM, you can reach every nook and corner of Government of India without worrying about gatekeepers like DGS&D. We are moving from shortages to availability of capital. Private equity and venture capital funds are replacing parental and friends and relatives' contribution. There was a time when Indian talent like Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, and Santanu Narayan used to go abroad for better opportunities. Today, Shantanu Narayan mentioned, if I was growing up right now, no way I would leave Hyderabad to go to US. All this talent is finding opportunity within India by becoming an entrepreneur. This entrepreneurs require capital. पहले माँ बाप का पैसा काम आता था. आज private equity and venture capital are providing that support. एक समय था मुंबई गुजराती मारवाड़ी मिला के स्टॉक ब्रोकिंग खत्म और शुरू होता था. Today, India's top two stockbroking companies are operating from the city of Bangalore. Simple entrepreneurship backed by private equity capital or parental capital has raced to become number one and number two broking company in the country. All this has started reflecting into India's growth prospects. पहले हम हमेशा स्लो लेन में ट्रैवल करते थे. Now we are moving into fast lane. Obviously, we have to travel at this pace for a long period of time because दुनिया हमसे बहुत आगे चली गई है. Today, top 6 cities of the top 10 fastest growing cities of the world are in India. Hyderabad, Bangalore, Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata are fastest growing cities of the world. States are becoming as big as yesterday's India. Maharashtra's GDP today is as high as India's GDP in 2005. UP Uttarakhand are as big as 2001 India. Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Karnataka are equivalent to 2000 India. In 20 years, the states become as big as India was 20 years back. In next 20 years, can this 6 states become as big as today's India? Quite likely. This growth is not driven just by Tata's, Birla's, Ambani's, Adani's. It is also driven by every Indian, including farmers of India. Amul, which is India's largest FMCG company today, aims to become world's largest FMCG company by 2047. Next slide, please. This growth is achieved with prudence. Of course, freebies culture of certain political parties can destroy this prudence. But at least as of today, they are walking left and talking right. And hence our growth is coming with prudence. In many parts of the world, nominal GDP growth is substantially lower than public debt. In these countries, more and more debt is required to create an incremental GDP. In India's case, fortunately, debt and GDP seems to be moving in tandem. In fact, we are one of that rare country which has improved its debt to GDP ratio between subprime crisis and COVID crisis. Of course, the credit goes to corporate India and household India. Government of India, thanks to COVID expenditure, has actually increased its debt to GDP ratio. But other than that, we have reduced our debt to GDP ratio. Are there challenges for India? Undoubtedly, yes. One big challenge is how do we become net exporter from being net importer? Our problem is mainly with China. In the last 8 years, our trade deficit with China is in excess of $474 billion. Last year alone, it was $100 billion. When we buy Chinese good, jobs get created in Shanghai, Beijing, not in Bangalore, Delhi, Kolkata, Chennai. There are two industries where we have moved from being net importer to net exporter. One is mobile phone, other is toys. How do we move this forward in other industries so that India as a whole becomes net exporter? We have to create inclusive growth. Today, we are we are seeing that bottom half of pyramid still has not benefited as much in pre-COVID era as top half of the pyramid. We are providing free food to 80 crore Indians. But should we teach a man fishing or should we give a fish every day? Next slide, please. In order to provide jobs to every Indian, we must capture China plus one opportunity. Today, many companies are going to countries like Vietnam and Mexico to set up their factories. We are getting our share, but not sufficient enough. If we can increase number of companies coming to India to set up their factories, that will be really good for job creation and benefiting bottom half of the pyramid. We also have to convert savers to investors. Indians save nicely, but when it comes to investment, we go berserk. 18 crore Indians have lost money trading cryptos and NFTs. 89% of people who trade futures and options market lose money. There are 10 crore Indians who are addicted to gaming with the hope to make money someday. Ponzi schemes have taken away more than 2 lakh crore from 2 crore plus Indians. Net, we have to convince this citizens of India to be an investor rather than greedy trader. In our Tijori, more than trillions of dollars of gold is lying unutilized. And we keep on adding to the pile. Total net gold imports in last 21 years was about 373 billion. It is almost equivalent to our foreign direct investment or foreign portfolio investment. If this gold saving is unlocked, it will change India's growth orbit. Next slide, please. Finally, our political parties should behave responsibly. Good economics should become prerequisite of good politics. This is a scary chart. It shows how much percentage of a state's revenue goes in payment of just pension. For a state like Bihar, 49% of their budget goes in payment of pension alone. This is when we have new pension scheme operational. God forbid, if every state goes back to old pension scheme, you can imagine what will happen. States like Punjab, Bihar, UP, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand will all have terrible pressure as most of their revenue will go in servicing only pension obligation. We are not rich country to afford this kind of luxury. Finally, what will be the risk for India? Risk for India is just self-goal. If we see Singur, where Tata's wanted to set up their automobile plant and they were thrown out, even today there is no growth, there is no development. In Sanand, when Tata's came to set up their automobile plant, they have done extremely well. They have not only done well for themselves, they have done well for Sanand also. If all of India follows Singur model, we have probably less hope. If all of India follows Sanand model, then there is much greater opportunity. Even Singur is now changing for better. A colleague of mine, ex-colleague of mine, is working in Singur to grow vegetables and fruit and exporting to Japan. Hopefully, Singur will also develop with a different business model. Finally, always remember, India is as big as continent, but it is transforming for better. 1% of Indians live lifestyle of French citizen. 27% live middle class life like an average Indonesian citizen. 72% of Indians are living even today sub-Saharan Africa lifestyle. How do we move people from Uganda to Indonesia and Indonesia to France? Will we see transformation of India? This is the photograph of Bansilal Pet Stepwell, an 150-year-old monument in Hyderabad, Telangana. Prior to 1991, India's economy was also like this. Today, same stepwell has transformed and become tourist attraction. I'm sure in 2047, India's economy will transform to become Viksit Bharat with per capita GDP upwards of $10,000 to $12,000 for every Indian. Thank you. Happy to take your questions.
Thank you, sir. That was a wonderful insight on so many parameters. I think the basic questions were that while, so usually when we listen to a lot of medias, it usually comes across, is it just a thought which has been just given or is just a marketing strategy, whether it's actually an Amritkaal? So I think you've rightly put it across that both coexist. Yes, if we intend to work towards it, we can and we will be maybe one of the largest, or I would say, I had seen one interview of yours, and on the part that you put across on the colonism and etc., and it was like 200 years of uh, slavery that we had, and thereafter 75 years we have been where we are, and maybe in another 25 years we would be one of, not one of the, rather you said it will be the first or the largest economy. So, I mean, that's a wonderful vision, and I think statistics and data is there to prove that yes. And looking at the new India, the initiatives are there. So, while that's rightly put across, so we have few questions. So I'll take them one by one. So we have one from Mr. Raj KR. He is asking, is our growth too centric basis the current government or fundamentally it is getting answered?
So, the growth is efforts of 144 crore Indians. But from 1947 till 1990, probably our efforts were not producing as much result for a variety of reasons. From 1991 onwards, when we adopted from socialism to market-oriented policies, efforts started producing better results. And 2014 onwards, these efforts have produced even better results because our leadership is supporting growth. In a team winning the match, contribution of captain alone is not sufficient. It still requires contribution of all the batsmen, bowlers, fielders, and wicket keeper. In our case, today we have a great captain, and also great player, which is why our growth is one of the highest in the world. Can Tendulkar rest on his laurels? Answer is no. He can get out at zero also. So for every match, he has to begin from beginning. And we should also learn from him and take fresh stance in every game. Our track record is looking good, but we must stay humble and keep on focusing on getting more and more growth.
Thank you, sir. We have another question from Mekyam Center. Can unemployment become a greater risk to Amritkaal? What can be done to turn it into an asset?
Undoubtedly, there will be revolt in the society if few people are rich and other people have no food to eat. Now, do remember that Indians believe in karma theory. There is free food for 80 crore Indians. But at the end of the day, every Indian would like to earn rather than get freebie. How do we create jobs? Well, we have to become manufacturer to the world. In our services sector today, 50 lakh plus employees work directly and about 2 to 3 crore people work indirectly. If I become manufacturer to the world, maybe 2 crore people will work directly and 10 crore people will work indirectly. How do I bring every industry going out of China to India? If they come here to set up their manufacturing plant, automatically jobs will be created and other ancillary jobs also will be created. So we should focus upon manufacturing growth, services, which will provide employment opportunity to our people.
Thank you, sir. We have another question from Mr. Aniket Advani. He's asking, India's inflation rate is around 6 to 7% from past few years. Do you see the rate decreasing anytime in future?
So, Aniket, by India's inflation is now expected to be about 4.5% this year, FY25. It had gone up to 5, 6, 7%, but it has now come down to 4, 5%. Our feeling is that inflation is on a downward trajectory globally as well as in India. We still will not go to 2, 3%, but will hover around 4, 5%.
So another thing which has been, in the recent turmoil in the market, I'm not sure if the effect is due to SEBI asking for stress tests for all the AMCs of small and mid cap funds. Okay. So we have this question from our chairman, Mr. Rahul Mati. He says, how should the investors look at it?
निमिषा, हमारी तो अग्नि परीक्षा हो चुकी है कोविड के समय काल में. मार्केट गिर रही थी, एनीवेज उससे जोर से गिर रही थी. ऑफिस में भी हम लोग नहीं थे. If you would have come to our office, you would have found closed doors. Investors should have panicked. We were facing problems of running our business and markets were crashing. In that difficult period, we ensured that every investor got their money back on time. There was no delay. There was delay by Templeton in their debt fund. And despite that unexpected event, 43 other mutual funds ensured that even in debt we were able to pay on time. तो जिसकी अग्नि परीक्षा हो चुकी है 2020 में, उसके स्ट्रेस टेस्ट का स्ट्रेस क्या लेना? हम तो उससे कहीं बड़ी डिफिकल्टी से गुजर चुके हैं सक्सेसफुली. Stress test is a statistical exercise that provides more data to investors, but don't read too much into it.
Thank you. So with the recent part of the elections approaching, so do you feel that any changes are expected in budget after the elections with respect to capital? And do you
So
have any sectors there?
today there is rumor or expectation that capital gains rate structure or term structure might change. Short-term capital gains tax rate could go from 15 to higher. Long-term could move from 10 to higher. Or 1 year term for long-term can be extended to 3 years. It's difficult to estimate what's going on in the minds of finance minister. So we have to wait and see. I'm sure whatever decision government takes will be taken after considering all aspects and be taken only if it is beneficial to the country.
So, we have another question from the audience. How long will gold continue to provide returns? Is a gold a part of should be the part of the portfolio or more money to be put in the near future?
So I'll recommend gold to be part of your portfolio. Central banks around the world are buying about 1,000 tons of gold. That will support gold prices. Gold prices also get supported when US interest rates come down, as it is expected in this year. My feeling is that gold's big figure will change from $2,000 to $3,000 over next couple of years.
Thank you, sir. We have one on the environmental challenges. So, Mr. Abhijit Garg puts across, how do we manage the environmental challenges that come with development initiatives?
A very good question, Abhijit Bhai. And we don't even know how big the challenge is or the problem is. We are still like five blind men trying to identify elephant. Who knows, the challenge will be far bigger than what we have anticipated. How do we solve this? I think one is responsibility for all of us. For example, I am sitting in a cabin which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights on. Can I just uplift my curtains and work in a natural light? It's an office, but as an individual, I can make a beginning. Second, all of us will have to become conscious about environmental and ensure that our footprint of carbon reduces. Take a little bit of a walk rather than using climb staircases rather than using lift. Individual level, all of us can help to save environment. Second, as a country also, we can't be left behind. We are the lowest per capita carbon emitter in the world. We must maintain this distinction despite growth. Otherwise, there will be no planet Earth left. As a nation, how do I utilize renewable energy? How do I make my citizens environmentally conscious? And what steps do we take to manage environment? It will be a collective effort. When government and farmers of India came together, India became from net importer of milk and milk products to be the largest producer of milk and milk products. Same spirit, same cooperation is required to save the environment. And as I mentioned, the problem could be far worse and far bigger than what we are anticipating today.
I think that this question has already been answered, but I'll still put it across. Where do you see the inflation, which is all-time high, and it's becoming difficult for general people to survive? I think you said it's on a declining trend, if I'm not.
Nimisha, for many people, inflation is high, but that's because we are also upgrading our quality. There was a time when for us eating out meant a pav bhaji with a street vendor or a sandwich at a street vendor. I still remember for our Sunday dinner was tea and bread. And if we are lucky, we will put some butter on it. Today, a dinner means 3 star, 5 star hotel. Of course, you'll have to pay a higher price for it. If we see Inflation, it is still in mid-single digit. We should aim to bring it down to low single digit. It will take some time. But do remember that we were witnessing double-digit inflation. There was a time when in Bollywood movies, villain was doing black marketing of food, roti kapda makan, Kali Charan, and so on and so forth. And heroine used to sing songs Mehngai Maar Gayi. Today, those villains and songs are not there, which gives me confidence to say inflation is under control. Should we rest on laurels? Answer is no. We must bring it down to low single digit from mid single digit today.
True. And just to add a part of it, I mean, while inflation is something what we won't be able to predict, but I think the answers you've already given that, we really need to move to investment mode rather than only saving mode so that we're able to generate more because we can't predict the future. So that will take care of our expenses in the future. So good planning is what will take us all a long way. So we have another questions on the current market. Is it a good time to add a multi-asset funds to portfolio? Is staggered manner profit booking suggested now in mid and small space? Which are the sectors that we look at to be the key success for India's Amrit? That's a question from our advisor, Mr. Yogesh.
So one, if you are overweight small and mid cap compared to your risk appetite and investment objective, please take some profit and become equal weight. If you are leveraged into this market, be it large, mid, or small, please reduce your position and pay back the leverage. If you had bought during March 20 COVID era, you are risk taker, continue your investments. If you and hold on to your positions, you are average risk taker, please take some profit if you are overweight. If you had sold during COVID period, please take a lot of profit out of market today. And if you want to invest, start with SIP, STP kind of things. Markets are fairly priced in large and larger mid cap and slightly overpriced in small and micro caps. If you are in quality stocks with a long-term view, stay invested. Don't worry for the volatility which may come. If you are leveraged into momentum stock, please liquidate it tomorrow. So the call is based on your risk appetite and investment objective rather than the market.
I think this again, like I said, brings back to our basic, the planning and the financial plan today plays an important role. So please get your portfolios properly planned as per your goals. And as per your risk appetite, I'm sure your advisor would do a proper allocation rather than how I think it's a very common and a basic thing. While we always say that it's the time in the market and not timing the market which matters, but still
Absolutely.
somehow we not tend to do that. We keep making the same common mistakes.
ये
So we
लोगों को 2 मिनट की मैगी चाहिए, बट मार्केट बिरबल की खिचड़ी है, 2 मिनट की मैगी नहीं है.
a good thing to remember. So next time I'm gonna use this with my clients. So there is a view on BFSI sector, considering RBI has asked banks to increase the provisioning and same time most of the banks are unable to maintain the sum. So is there any chances to on the drop in repo rate?
My feeling is that by mid 24, June, July, August 24, Fed will cut rate. By December 24, RBI will indicate that they have ability to cut rate. And somewhere around mid 25, we may see rate cut cycle beginning in India, depending upon how deep Fed US cycle is going on. Today, RBI is in a most comfortable position. Growth is 8%, inflation is 4% plus something. Banking system is stable, rupee is stable. Why should they derail this? And hence my feeling is that they will maintain status quo for a while And then somewhere in 2025, after watching how Fed has played its hand, they may decide to cut rates.
Thank you, sir. I think we have one. We'll take this last one. What is the future of traditional investment instruments like fixed deposit, PPFs? Do you think the interest rate will become more than US as India becomes more debt?
See, fixed deposit is more for parking than investment. It's difficult to see how people can get real return in fixed deposits. When you put money in bank, it is the bankers who are making money, not you. So my recommendation will be to follow a disciplined asset allocation. From depositor become investor. That will be the way to make money.
Thank you, sir. I think we have covered all the questions. We are bang on time, so we'll conclude the session. Thank you once again. It was a
Thank you,
very
Nilesh, and wish you all a very happy Holi.
thank you, sir. So it was an incredible, informative session, and I'm sure this has broadened our horizon and made us help understand the Amritkaal in a better way. And we look forward for thank you once again, all our participants, and we look forward to meet you all in our next Penta Talk series. And Nilesh, sir, you always continue to inspire us and drive us to me. So
Thank you.
wishing you all a wonderful weekend and a very happy week.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.